All right, welcome in another edition of the Ryan and Goodman podcast. And he's Bob Ryan. I'm Jeff Goodman. And as we were just saying, we've got a little bit of an overload now. It's a little bit different, Bob, than where we were at 2 months ago when we were scrambling to come up with anything to talk about.
One of the things that you were able to do, Mr. Goodman, was to produce some interesting guests for us. And yesterday, two of our guests, two of the Ryan Goodman podcast all-stars, right, went off,
They did.
right?
They did.
And together, Duncan Robinson and Pat Connaughton combined to shoot 12 for 16 on threes. Robinson had 24 points leading the Heat, and Connaughton 15 with the Bucks. And with, of course, it's such a perfect sign of the times and of who they are. They took no twos between them.
I think we need, Bob, I think if they play each other in the next series, I think we need to get them for a return appearance together, and you can make fun of them for taking no twos.
Well, I'll offer a $5 bill the first one that makes it two.
I think Pat wins that. I think Pat has a better shot than Duncan of hitting a two.
Seriously, I've been keeping my eye on them closely ever since they were our guests, and but it has an extraordinary performance, particularly by Robinson. He goes off.
His story. I mean, we obviously kind of went through it when he was on the pod, but his story is just so amazing, and it's so much fun to watch now because I think I asked him the question about confidence, right? Mm-hmm. How much confidence, and he said it's taken time, and he's still working with it mentally a lot. And man, now when he gets that ball, it's almost like Spo will yell at him if he doesn't shoot it, and he's got any space now.
He made one semi-outrageous spinning, throwing it up there. What the hell, swish, But it was fun. So anyway, that's a series. That's not the highlight series. Let's face it. Miami and Indiana are playing for friends and family right now. They're not the marquee. We got to turn our attention to the marquee series. Let's start in the East with Pat Connaughton's team after a very desultory opening game in which skeptics such as myself, we've had this discussion many times in the last 3 months. I kept saying to you, I don't see how they're that good. I don't see how they were 53-12. I know who he is. He's pretty damn good.
But who's everybody else?
And he was pretty damn good yesterday. Again, 28-20 for Giannis, okay? But all right, so I know their defensive metrics were there. I know they were a good defense. Anyway, they play very badly in the first game, but they answered the bell.
And they've played kind of sloppy in the bubble for the most part. Their defense hasn't been nearly as good.
Right, that's right.
We're starting to worry about them a little bit. Are they different? Can they flip the switch? Like the Lakers and the Clippers, you don't worry about. And we'll get to the Lakers in a minute. But, they're going to flip the switch when they need to. LeBron's done this a few times, right?
Yeah.
Milwaukee has not. And you still we've talked about this. I worry about Milwaukee, maybe not quite as much as you do, because I still think winning is ingrained in you, and they've got that culture now. But I do worry about Eric Bledsoe at the point.
You always do.
And I love Chris Middleton, but I still look at watch Chris Middleton and say, all right, can he be the number 2 guy he's just so understated in everything he does that it's hard or easy, I guess, to overlook what Middleton does. And again, the question is, can he be that Robin to Giannis's Batman? And I don't know if I completely buy into it, Bob, but I'll tell you what, in the East, I'm just saying, like Milwaukee, Toronto, Boston, now you're looking at Miami. There's not a lot of separation between those 4 teams.
Well, speaking of Robin, that leads me to the Lopez brothers and brother Brooke, who he stepped up. I forgive me, Lord, for using that phrase. I'm sorry, but he played better. In the first game, he had 5 and 4. No, that's not acceptable. Right. But he bounced back with 20 points, 8 rebounds yesterday. He played much more his game. He's got to, let's say they're not going to go too far if he's not going to play well. He doesn't have to be the best big man in the league, but he's got to, he's had one of the great transformations, in this 20th century. He, to me, is the symbol of how the game has changed as much as anyone else. Because if you examine his record in the first 6 or 7 years in the league, he took like 1 3. Yeah. One. And I'm sure it was the end of a period, or the end of the half or something,
Somebody gave him the ball and
he beat the clock, But, you see where he's gone from there to the point where but his last year with the Nets, he took more threes than anybody on the team.
Yeah, you just look at are you a believer in the wake-up call or no?
For some people, yeah. I mean, I don't know what it was. I don't know if he needed that. Those two guys the brothers have intrigued me,
but they're all there needing it. I'm talking more about the team overall.
Yeah, I think a sobering. Yeah, I think when you lose that first game, look at Toronto last year. Right. People are citing that as an example right away. As soon as Milwaukee and the Lakers lost their first games, people are saying, well, last year Toronto lost their first game too. Look what happened. All right, that's fine. But I think the answer to your question is pretty much yes. I've seen it. I've lived with teams. I've lived with Celtic teams that have had all kinds of fluctuations over the last 50 years, literally. And so, yeah, I'll buy it.
Even more this year, Bob. Like they're in a bubble. They don't have their families around. It's so unique and so different that why are we surprised about anything that's going to happen in this playoffs? We shouldn't be.
No, you're playing for the home cutout advantage. That's about it. I mean, there is, you get to decorate you bring in your virtual fans, your music. Adam Himmelsbach had a good story in the Globe. I hadn't really thought about it, about the presentation, game presentation anymore. But you get to pick how it goes, and so Philadelphia. Now that's going to be interesting, because this team.
It's blowing up.
They were the most, schizo team in the league this year. They were 29-2 at home, if I'm not mistaken, and very mediocre on the road. And now they're not going. They would have been going back to game 3, which, by the way, Brett Brown actually made an allusion to the other day and said, well, and of course they're not going back to home to game 3. They're staying right where they are for game 3. So.
Yeah, I think this is it for Brett Brown, and I feel bad for Brett. We've talked about him. We love him as a guy. We love him, and he took over such a difficult circumstance with tanking. Like people now forget what Brett Brown had to go with Sam Hinkie and the tanking. And it was hard because here's the part that I think was very difficult for Brett Brown is Joel Embiid's hurt when they draft him. He comes back, you've got to manage him, right? So you've got to allow him to do certain things in practice and not to practice that other guys aren't able to do. Basically, you're allowing him to call his own shots when he practices, how he practices, because frankly, you've got to manage his health. And then Ben Simmons comes in and sees that it's kid gloves with Joel, and Ben doesn't love that, and the other players probably don't love it either. And Joel's personality is polar opposite from Ben's. Ben's chill, he's mellow, he doesn't really say much. Joel's all about the flash, the fun, the talking trash, all of it. So they didn't go well. Brett Brown didn't really know how to handle this, and how could you kind of reel it back in with Joel? You couldn't, because as you've seen over the years, managing personalities is really hard, especially in today's NBA.
Well, I mean, that's so much what coaching in all sports is about, particularly a sport as intimate as basketball, when you have those few people and certain people are so disproportionately important to the success of your team. And in this case, Joel Embiid is Exhibit A, because he's the most in a league where we have a plethora. I don't use that word that often, but because people mostly misuse it. A plethora of talented big men, 20th century big men, most of them European, by the way, and he, of course, is from Africa. He's Cameroonian. But most of them not Americans, I'll put it that way, seriously, who have a range of skill, face up, can do the whole thing. He is the most talented, well-talented one of them all. Do you not believe of that group, of that ilk?
I would say Joel and AD to me would be.
No, wait, but I'm saying of the non-Americans. I'm putting AD.
Oh, the non-Americans. I mean,
he's the most talented.
Jokic. Yeah, Jokic is there.
Jokic, Vucevic, who, by the way, what a game he played the other day.
You're right. You can't argue.
It's all right. So, all right, I'm digressing, but hey, what the hell? It's our show. So what the hell? We can digress. But yeah, he is a piece of work. I mean, he's a challenge. Well, we're talking about managing team. Hey, go all the way back to Red, okay? Red, Bill Russell will tell you, and he said it countless times, I would not have been the player that I was. I would have not have had the production and the career that I had in the NBA for a different coach.
Yeah.
Red Auerbach understood how to not handle, he read there, but manage, as you said, to adjust to Bill Russell's whims and moods and know how to play and get. And there's the same thing with all the other. He managed talent, and the same thing. The great common thread of Red Auerbach and Phil Jackson, because Michael Jordan's you gotta know how to deal with him on a day-to-day basis, right? Well, Phil Jackson was the guy to figure that out. Okay, so Brett Brown's had this challenge from day one with this very talented young man. I would almost say eccentric. You can't keep him off social media. He has to do what he has to do. And then you got the next guy, as you said, that comes along, who's a totally different personality. And these are your two most important components. Good. And
here's the other one, Bob. So you had those two. You brought in Tobias Harris.
Yeah.
Jimmy Butler leaves.
And paying him, by the way, which the others know.
And I'm okay with that one, to be honest. I think I'm okay with Tobias because he can shoot it. He's fine as your 4-man. Yeah. But then the mistake you made, Elton Brand, was bringing in Al Horford. And I never thought I'd say that. I never thought I'd say that.
Me neither.
We love Al, but listen, Danny Ainge made the right move.
Yes, he did.
The right move. Al's on the backside of his career right now anyway, and you're bringing him in on a team where he didn't fit, other than in the locker room he fit. Yeah. But on the court, he doesn't fit with Joel, with Tobias, with or without Ben Simmons. He just doesn't. They're all really good players individually. But the key is finding and Elton Brand, I'm surprised, but maybe Elton Brand looked at Al Horford and saw himself in the mirror a little bit and said, like, I got to have Al Horford because he reminds me a little bit of myself. But Horford is at the back end of his career. They overpaid for him, and now they're really going to feel it because they're hamstrung. What can you do? Horford, you can't really salary dump him. What are you going to do? You're going to trade Simmons? You're going to trade Joel? I still say if Brett Brown is fired and I'm Elton Brand, I'm gonna get in my car. I'm gonna punch in Jay Wright's home address.
Going out I'm gonna
go to his home address.
Little trip out the main line
with a blank check. With a blank check, Bob Ryan, and saying, Jay, what is it gonna take? 10 million? All right, 10 million it is. Because I think Jay Wright is the one guy who could fix this, and maybe even he's so good with people. Yeah. And that Brett is too. Brett's good with people, but it was already too late. It was too late by the time Brett, again, tried to reel this back in. Jay Wright could go in and I think have the best opportunity to put Ben Simmons and Joel in a room and at least get them on the same page, which would give you a chance. Now, again, your personnel is a little bit screwed up. You don't have enough shooters. But I don't know. I don't know if Jay Wright would do it. The one difference I've said is Jay Wright the last couple times around has had kids that were in high school and middle school. Now his kids are older. He's won 2 national titles now. Before this, Jay Wright was kind of fighting for his reputation. I mean, there was a point where we thought Jay Wright might get fired before he'd win a national title. And he has been incredible. Everybody wants to be Villanova right now. In college basketball, not Duke, not Kentucky. They want to be Villanova. They want to have that program where it's high-character kids that are predominantly guys that you're going to develop, not necessarily recruit top 10, top 20 players. So I think Jay Wright is the guy to go after and make it so he cannot refuse that job.
And, of course, another Ryan Goodman podcast guest, I must point out.
Yes, that's right.
Remember that day, beautiful sunsplash day, he was outside for us. Remember that?
We got to do that. We got to do one. You know what? We got to figure out a way. I don't know how we do it with social distancing, but we got to find a way maybe to do one outside here in the next couple of weeks. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it.
It'll be interesting to me, Jeff, to see how the Sixers react in this Game 3 because the basketball world took strong note of the atrocious body language they demonstrated in the second half of the second game. after that 14-point lead in the first period. And the Celtics blitzed them by 50 total, I think, at one point. And he was hanging his head. Embiid, and it, you're wondering, has Brett Brown lost them? Was probably the words. Anyway. This is going to be interesting to see how they respond. I don't say how they win or lose, just how they respond to this game 3. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, the other big bounce back one was the Lakers coming back.
It was all about AD. I mean, I'll play that if someone told you game. If someone told you that LeBron James was going to play, I got the numbers here, it was 10-8-6 or whatever, something like that, and the Lakers were going to win with a relative ease. Yeah, you would have said, I don't think so. But I said yesterday that Anthony Davis has got to go assert himself. And he did. And we all know he may be the best talented person over 6'10" in the world, and overall. That was a performance they got to have. But I was also taking note that Frank Vogel, in the first, he got something out of J.R. Smith last night after a DNP, by the way, in game 1.
You got to push the right buttons here.
He gave him 11 points, and he used waiters who played 1 minute in game 1 with another useless minute. But the other guy, the auxiliary people, you can't count on that. You can't count on that, and nor do you think can you count on Caldwell Pope, who was 0 for 9 in the first game, going for 20 again. You can't count on that either.
No, you're absolutely right. You're going to be lucky to get 1 or 2 of those guys, but that's all you need. If you're Frank Vogel, you got to figure out.
If somebody can come through each night, alternate, fine, But anyway, also they got a pretty good. They got a nice, solid production from the 5 spot, if you will, or whatever you want to call it, the non-perimeter spot. From the 2 big guys who gave you 19 and 13 combined, McGee and Howard, because I'm the president of the anti-Howard fan club. But
I'm the VP. If you're the president, I'm the VP. Trust me.
I'm the presidency. I think
I can tell you. Can I tell you that Dwight Howard was extremely likable back in AAU ball when he played with the Atlanta Celtics?
I bet he was bubbly and enthusiastic, right? I bet he.
Oh, he was quieter.
Oh.
Something flipped with him in Orlando where it became all about attention. He was never like that back in high school. He was kind of a mild-mannered, quiet kid who had all the talent in the world, and he still did in the NBA, let's face it. But some switch. I don't know what happened in Orlando. I would love
one of those guys who went down the road because he's not going to. If he goes to the Hall of Fame, I'll bleep in bed.
His numbers would probably suggest he should.
I know, and people. But if he doesn't, and he shouldn't, in my mind, the people will look at those numbers.
Right.
And future.
That's the problem. That's the problem.
Look at this guy. How did he not come out?
Why do we just look at numbers when it comes to the Hall of Fame? Why don't we also look at impact on winning and some of the?
You should.
Yeah,
and
but they don't.
He's got rebound titles, defensive player of the year, right? Titles, and yet you and I know, look at the disaster he was the first time around the Lakers, the disaster he was in Houston, and he's found himself. I give him said in his dotage now. He's found himself a home. I don't know who's, and he may have a ring coming up.
I said this 10 years ago. The only way Dwight Howard ever gets a ring is if he plays with LeBron. I said this 10 years ago.
Oh, good.
I was on Jim Rome's show, Jim Rome's TV show for a week. And I'm telling you, those were my words. The only way he ever wins a title is if he plays with LeBron.
I got a tweet hanging out there. I can't disavow it. That said something along the lines of, if Earth were playing for the, championship of the universe, and he were the only center available, I'd go 4-on-5.
Great.
So I can't run from that. I did say that. That's obviously hyperbole, but you get the point.
Pretty good. All right. So the best series to me, maybe I'm crazy, but what's the series that if it's on, you're saying I can't miss that game in that series? What is it?
Oh, it may be Dallas and
it has to be, Bob. Maybe. Okay. What do you mean? Luka,
Luka and Kawhi. Right? I was slowly backing into that one. It's Dallas and the Clips. You want to see the kid. You want to see the kid. You want to see how they react. Oh, yeah.
The kid is so much damn fun to watch.
Yeah.
Not only because of what he can do, so many people are comparing him to Larry Bird these days, right? Because they're both white. They both don't look the part. They're both not super athletic, but man,
right? They're not.
Right, they can make people better when they want to make people better. They can do that.
Oh, yeah.
And when they want to score the basketball, they can do it in a variety of ways. Luka's not the shooter Larry was, but he makes them enough, and he makes them when they matter.
No, he's his own. I always make the point. We always love these comparisons, and they're important to give a frame of reference for people when you're trying to say, who's this guy like? I'm going to ask you when we get to the draft, about people, because things, these guys, and I don't. But the point is, but ultimately, there's like the snowflake analogy is about every great player in any sport. And basketball is Exhibit A. Everyone has got a little something special about different about themselves, and so. But anyway, there's frames of references. There's close analogies, sure. And you're right. There's every reason to suggest that there's a bird-like quality to his game, So
you know why? Ultimately, Bob, the reason I think there's a comparison between those two, beyond the fact that they're both white and not extremely athletic,
6'9",
is their feel for the game. That's number one thing. Is their feel for the game is both insane, and the other part that I like Luka, that Larry had some of it, but not as much as Luka. You can just tell that Luka loves playing, like on his face. Mm-hmm. You can see it. He's smiling. He's joking. Larry wasn't as much about that.
No, Larry, Larry had a game face.
Right.
Larry had a game attitude. In fact, that's what drove Larry crazy occasionally about Kevin and McHale. Was Kevin could be laughing and joking up to the opening tip, and when Larry entered the locker room, it was business. Yeah. And to the end of the game.
People have different ways of doing it. I don't like how people get on other guys about that. Like, well, I'm all business and I got my game face, so you should have your game. No, like everybody's different in how they get motivated and stay motivated through a game. And I love watching Luka for that, Bob. I love watching him because it is clear he loves the game and you see it outwardly.
I'm going to talk about their first game. What was your take on the Porzingis ejection?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I thought it was unfair. I wouldn't have done it, but again, he put himself in a spot.
He put himself in a position. There's two things on the initial technical was nonsense. So he's got one that he never should have had. Right. And the second one, a better ref knows to walk.
Yes.
To
100%.
And it's not. You got to know. I'm sorry. Don't tell me. I don't want to hear about you don't referee the score. You don't referee. You should know damn right well the circumstance that you're in. That referee, and I don't know the new referees. I don't even know which one it was. That referees, I think he should be reprimanded. He should be reprimanded in his own office. That wasn't the case. Yes, I know Porzingis should not have gone in there, but it wasn't that egregious either. It wasn't.
It's the playoffs, Bob. There should be different rules in the playoffs. I know some people would argue with us on that.
Sure. Well,
but there should be a longer.
They could argue, and they would be wrong. And I'm sorry. Yeah.
Longer leash in the playoffs, ultimately.
Anyway, that was.
Do you give Dallas a shot here? They win one more game? Do you think? And it's 4-2.
I still would have. I find it hard. My money's still got to be on the Clips. But Paul George has got to play better than he did in that game, and he will. I don't think there's any doubt that he'll be doing some soul searching. After game 2.
I don't know if any of these series now come down to like a 7th game where we're one. I mean, Denver, Utah, maybe.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. That's one.
They're evenly matched.
And even what's the Miami?
2-0 Miami.
Yeah, 2-0 Miami. Well, that could change, but when Indiana gets back, oh no, they're not going back home. I'm sorry.
And they don't have Sabonis.
That's a joke. That's a joke.
If they got Sabonis back, maybe.
But yeah, you're right. Utah, Denver, and Utah got they're going to get Conley back right now. Next one, presumably, is it the next one?
Yeah, he'll be back.
They're going to have Conley back, and that one, of course, I've always got my eye on Denver because I'm a new member, and I just sent my membership card, my dues back in the Jokic fan club. So
you love him.
That fan club, and so I always want to see them play too. And there's a lot of people that clearly that you want to that we want to see. One thing I want to ask you to talk about though is rearing its ugly head and messing things up for me because I hate what I call loose ends and the injury thing. First it was Hayward.
Yep.
And can this guy ever catch a break? What karma? Who did he piss off upstairs in the basketball gods?
Amazing.
This is a nice man. This is a good human being. What did he do to deserve this?
Over and over and over. Now he's out a month with a sprained ankle. And,
Yeah, I mean,
and
come
to
on.
add to that, he's going to have to leave for the birth of
And
his
he was going to be
child.
going on anyway.
Right.
So, I mean, that to me, my enthusiasm is there, but my hopes for the Celtics, I've ratcheted it down. Yeah, they'll still get beyond Philly, I think. And then after that, whatever happens, happens. I'm no longer, having a distant hope they'll get to the finals. No, I don't think so. But, you never know, because we're going to talk about Tatum in a while. But anyway, that, and then of course, hey, Lillard last night. And now it wasn't his shooting hand, but still, you got to catch the ball. You got to be able to play.
It changes up here.
Of course, that's what I'm saying.
It's
in the back of your mind. You're worried about how I'm going to react to this. You don't want to, on defense now, is he going to want to, he says, I'm going to play.
He'll play.
Now, I don't know the extent of it now. I do know this happened to Bird on a couple of occasions, the finger thing. And, and he was able to tape him up and of course, the greatest example of mind over matter I have ever seen in this regard with this particular nature of injury was Bernard King in 1984 in the greatest 5-game series that I ever saw and maybe the NBA has ever had, and with her incredible stuff between the Pistons and the Knicks. And Bernard King averaged 40 points a game in those 5 games with its 2 dislocated ring fingers that were taped together to his middle finger, and that's how he shot the basketball to score 40 points a game in the NBA playoffs. So
Bernard, people don't realize how prolific Bernard King was as a scorer.
Right, and we got some nice youngins listening to us who are going.
Go watch Bernard King tape.
Yeah, go YouTube. Go get on YouTube when we're done and go look up Bernard King for you.
All right, let's take a quick break, Bob, and then we're going to get to our top 10 players. Is Jason Tatum deserving of a spot in the top 10? But first, this episode is sponsored by Score Metrics Sports Trading System. You've heard of Sabermetrics, the analytic model that propelled the impossible Oakland A's to be a competitive team in the early 2000s. Now meet Score Metrics, a system that legendary sports bettor John Todori used to propel himself into a multi-million-dollar lifestyle in record time. Score Metrics supplies millions of relevant data points with John's customary proprietary analytic models to accurately pinpoint winning profit opportunities in the betting markets. So get this. Just last year in the Major League Baseball season, Score Metrics produced a 217% gain. That's insane. And the back-tested results of the members-only alert system, based purely off the Score Metrics method, have a staggering 6,796% compounded ROI over the last 4 years. It's as easy as following along on your favorite betting app. So now, for the first time ever, John is opening up access to Score Metrics to the public. To get access and start placing high-probability bets today, visit sportstradingsystems.com /podcast. That's sportstradingsystems.com /podcast. All right, Bob, here's the deal. I asked you for this before, and then we're going to get to a little bit of draft lottery. So we're going to try to bang through this in 5 minutes of our top 10 players, because I tweeted the other day that I would put Jason Tatum right now at 10th in the NBA. Number 10, I think he's cracked the top 10, and I think in 2-3 years, I think we're going to be talking about Jason Tatum as a top 5 player in the NBA. Well, I really do.
As the league ages out, that could.
Now, again, I know I'm president of the fan club. I get it. Maybe I'm not completely objective when it comes to Jason Tatum. I will admit that as well.
We all have those. We all have our soft spots.
Right. That's him for me.
That's part of being a fan. Hey, because we're fans first. We're always fans first, and I always will be. And so obviously you're not completely objective.
That's right.
I always say it's not about objectivity. It's about fairness.
All right. So start out one. Who's
Still
one?
The King. I'm staying with the King.
100%.
LeBron's one.
Can't argue with you. Number 2, Giannis or Kawhi?
I'm going Giannis.
Okay. 2. You splitting hairs.
Kawhi's 3, so we're on the same page already.
Splitting hairs. 4, Kevin Durant.
Kid.
Kevin Durant?
No, the kid.
Ooh, you're going Luka over KD.
I'm going to him over a few people.
All right. I like it. I'm going KD 4.
Okay. 5, Harden.
Yeah, I got Harden a little less because I don't think
he guards a tree. Ignore the results.
He's in the top
All right.
Eight no matter what. I think
6.
there's 8 clear.
6 AD.
6 AD. I got him at 6 as well. Yep.
7 Durant now, just because he's a little older.
I got him at 4, but I got no problem.
8. Don't forget Curry.
Yep, I got him too. Those are your top 8. I think they're clear top 8. You agree? And then there's a little bit of a gap.
Well, you can make a case because my guy at 9 might have passed 8 by this. That's Lillard.
Yep, I got him at 9 too. I got him at 9.
You sold me on Tatum. I got this list is ridiculous. We're the same. I got Tatum at 10, and that what I do have here is the next 6 that that would overlook.
Who are they? All right, so let's see if we have the same 6 in that next tier.
I have in parentheses Zion.
Jokic. You have Jokic.
I got parentheses Zion. Parentheses being.
I didn't even put him in there.
Not ready yet, but yeah. All right. Well, I'm thinking in 5 years. All right. Yep. I got Embiid with an asterisk, which is
me too.
Cuckoo Bird. I got Westbrook.
Yep. Me too.
Donovan Mitchell.
Yep. Me too.
Devin Booker.
Me too.
And Jokic.
And then I added 2 more to that group: Paul George and Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, I got. They were definitely in my big list. Yeah, and they each probably deserve to be ahead of both Booker, Mitchell, and Jokic. But I think we're thinking on the same.
I mean, like Tatum, you can make a case he's 10. I'm not saying he's clearly 10. I'm saying he's in that next tier, and you could easily put him above some of those other guys because, again, Embiid probably more talented, but Jason comes to play. Listen, I'm going to give you a couple numbers. All right, here's some numbers for you on Tatum. Take away the first game in the bubble. First game.
1 2 for 18, one of which was tipped in by the other team.
The last 23 games Jason Tatum has played, he's averaging 27.8 points a game. He's averaging he's 3.5 assists a game, which I still think that's a number we got to watch because I think it's going to eventually be where he's averaging more than 4.5 assists a game as he gets more comfortable in his role. Shooting, look at this, 88 of 189 from 3, 47% from 3 over those 23 games. 28 points a game, shooting 47% from 3. I mean, those numbers are insane, especially on a team that has 4 dudes that can all play.
We have seen these games often that people, obviously, and if you're living in Pocatello, you may not see the game, to know the nature of the clutch performances that are included in those games for him too. That he's inherited the role of rising to the occasion kind of thing. Yeah, absolutely. So, well, those are very, very impressive. Remember his rookie year, he started off leading the league in field goal, three-point percentage for a couple months. And then he had a regression last year. Yeah. He did. He had a regression.
I made fun of him.
How much was that? Was Kyrie oriented? I mean, some. I think some. I don't know how much, but I don't want to demonize Kyrie, but there was a negative effect. I don't think anybody can argue that.
Bob Ryan, I will tell you the 2 players who deserve a ton of credit for Jason Tatum's continued progression are Kemba Walker and Gordon Hayward.
Okay.
Because they are both comfortable enough, have enough comfortability in themselves to be able to say, you know what? We're going to let Jason and Jaylen Brown push them forward instead of holding them back, which is what I felt like Kyrie Irving was trying to do. Kyrie's all about himself. He needed the attention. Kemba doesn't give a shit. Gordon doesn't give a shit. They just want to win. They don't really they're not attention guys. They actually would rather, after, in a post game, they'd rather get dressed and get the hell out of there while Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are doing the interviews.
Yeah,
so I honestly think it's like these guys get it, and they're positive with Tatum and Jaylen and saying if they miss a big shot, we need you to keep taking that shot. And I think Jason Tatum's confidence, a lot of it, comes from Kemba and Gordon now.
That's interesting. Well, I'm good. Well, I know that we know that he's had an effect, a positive day-to-day, feel, positive atmosphere effect on the team. And there's no question about it. Out of context, Kyrie Irving's an incredibly talented player, but this guy's been better for this team. So
isn't it amazing?
Which, by the way, I'm really curious about the Nets next year because because they have something good going right now with this group.
Yeah.
You know, they got to this. You got to. I'm going to salute Kenny Atkinson and the Nets and all those guys. Damn it, we laughed at you going into the bubble, right? They had nobody.
Kenny Atkinson remembers God. Kenny Atkinson helped
Right.
build
Oh,
this thing.
It's Shock Fawn.
Right. Right.
Yeah, I forgot. Right, but Kenny.
Or Kenny Atkinson. He's
gotta be
unemployed right now.
Surface, right?
Or if I'm Chicago,
Yeah.
if I'm the Bulls, I'm hiring Kenny Atkinson today. Today, I think he's a guy that proved it. And again, I think he's good with some of those younger players that Chicago has right now, whether it's Wendell Carter, Larry Markkinen, Zach LaVine. I think Kenny Atkinson's a guy that could really help that franchise.
Nice, but back to the net. But anyway, next year when KD and Irving come with these groups, we'll see how that blend is because these kids have not, but they're a nice story. They ended very well. Okay, we had the weirdest NBA draft lottery since they instituted it in 1985. I was in attendance at the first one.
Were you really?
I was there in New York.
Wow.
And I didn't see anything funky about the envelope. I mean, I wasn't thinking in conspiratorial terms.
Yeah.
What I most remember is the joy of Dave DeBusschere, though,
really?
when it was revealed that they got number one, and it was when it was one of those, as I recall, And I love Dave DeBusschere anyway. My all-time favorite guys that I ever covered in the NBA, the late Dave DeBusschere. Anyway, so I've been there, and I've been to the draft lotteries in Jersey, and in the draft lottery all over. But watching that thing just zip, 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 zip. And then what do they expect the guys to do when they put the camera on them? And a couple of them, after about 3 seconds, the representatives, after the selections were made, they gave a little Mona Lisa grin, like, I guess I got to do something. I got to show some kind of emotion to acknowledge, I'm looking like a. Anyway, I'm throwing it up to you now. Your take on, the top half a dozen as it unfolds, right through down to the Knicks, who, by the way, just they can't get this lottery thing straight ever since 1985. Anyway, Minnesota number one. How excited should they be?
Not very. I mean, like, I wish they had a camera on Gerson Rosas, who's going to make the pick for Minnesota. D'Angelo Russell, like you said, it's like, as a player, these players aren't getting overly excited about whether they're going to get LaMelo Ball or Anthony Edwards or James Wiseman. But I would have liked to have had side by side last year David Griffin's reaction when they got Zion. They got the number one pick in New Orleans. Yeah. And this year, when Gerson Rosas gets the number one pick in Minnesota, because I honestly think it's not going to cost Gerson Rosas his job. He just got the job in Minnesota. But I'm telling you, it's going to be hard to win with this pick. It's going to be hard to win because there's no clear number one. We've talked about this a little bit before. It's kind of in the beauty, of the beholder here. But ultimately, they can't take James Wiseman. He's the guy that most NBA GMs would take when I talk to him. They can't take him. They already have kind of a big man Towns, who's got some questions about his motor and his toughness. And you cannot pair James Wiseman with Karl Anthony Towns. You just can't do it. So to me, he's off the board if you're going to keep that pick. Okay.
Would that be a trade possibility, though? Because somebody would want to get Towns down the road down there.
Wiseman. Or what? Towns.
Wiseman. So in other words, that's the possibility, right?
I don't think anybody's going to love James Wiseman enough to give enough to move up. And I've said that. I don't think there's going to be a lot of moving around like people envision with this.
I was just throwing it out there, Jeff, because I'm aware. Yeah, okay.
I don't see it. I think they're going to have to pick between LaMelo Ball and Anthony Edwards. Yeah. Two guys that have some red flags to them. I would go with LaMelo Ball. And I know people think I'm crazy when I say it.
Hey, few people have seen him. You got a frame of reference that few people have.
I do.
Seriously.
He's so long, Bob. I was watching some stuff. There was an article, my daughter saw it yesterday on ESPN on LaMelo. Yeah. And I guess they had a video too, and there was a lot of stuff for me on that from being back with him in Lithuania. And I've been around him. I was around him a lot in his 16-year-old, that frame, 16, 15, 16, 17. Saw him a ton. And listen, the one thing I will say is he is blessed with incredible court vision and passing ability. Incredible. Like highest end. Lonzo, similar, but they're very different how they pass it, but they see things the same way. Now, the problem with LaMelo is, again, he hasn't been coached, and he's developed a lot of bad habits, whether it's on the defensive end, whether it's throwing the ball all over the gym, whether it's not taking the game as seriously as he should. So going to Minnesota and playing with D'Angelo Russell and Karl Anthony Towns, is that going to help his development and impact winning? Because he's going to put up his numbers. Now, he only shot about 28% from three. But the other guy we're talking about in the equation for the number one pick, Anthony Edwards, shot 29% from three and lost a shitload of games at Georgia. Didn't impact winning at all.
No.
So, listen, if I was Gerson Rosas, I'm a small market team. I would roll the dice on LaMelo because he is a 6'7" point guard who can make people better. And what he'll do, he'll bring people into the seats. He'll bring people into the seats. Like, people will pay attention. They want to watch LaMelo because he will shoot it from 40 feet. There'll be some like Trae Young to his game, if that makes sense.
All right, now I'm trying to picture it. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
He's not as good a shooter as Trae Young. He's not. Trae Young's a really good shooter.
He's an excellent shooter. Yeah.
But LaMelo can make a few. He's got this kind of weird shot.
Well, I guess that's just the ball brother release.
Right. Bad mechanics.
Look at Lonzo. I mean, so okay, all right. I mean, I have never gone into a draft with more ignorance, this year than ever. I mean, because we had the college season was truncated. We didn't get to see the finish of the final of the March Madness, when we often learn about guys and actually went up seeing them multiple times. I mean, I try to do I love college basketball. I have my whole life. I watch games, but I don't have any feel for this draft. I've never gone in with more ignorance. Do you know anything about the Israeli forward?
Yeah, Denny. Denny's really good, but I talked to an NBA GM yesterday about him, and they said, he's a guy that is going to be a good piece, but they don't think he can jump into the top three. They think he's in that next tier with an Obi Toppin, with an Onyeka Kongwu, who's a big, strong kid coming out of USC, who actually grew up in Chino Hills with the Ball brothers. They grew up together. Wow. And he stayed at Chino Hills, obviously. LaMelo was pulled out of school at Chino Hills. I was watching that. I did an interview in Lithuania with LaMelo, and I had asked him. That was when school was over at that point. I said, "What's it like?" I asked him. I said, "What's it like to be done with school now?" And he looked at me, and he paused, and he smiled, and then he said, "It's a dream come true." And I don't even think I knew how to react to that answer, Bob. I said, well, what about, the people that would say, like, you need education? And he responded then with, well, I agree with that if you want to be a doctor, but if you want to be an athlete, I don't think you need education.
Yeah, well.
He was 16, so I'm giving him the benefit at 16.
You can't quite imagine tearing up the knee and going out and have to find a job,
Yeah.
I know, I understand now. That's a story as old as the ages, so we all know that.
Yes. Denny is a talented kid who played for Maccabi Tel Aviv, who is kind of a point forward type, I guess I would say. He can make plays for others. He's a good athlete. The problem with a lot of these kids, to be honest, in the top that I think are going to go in the top 6 or so, is a lot of them aren't great shooters. Okay, Anthony Edwards, not a great shooter. LaMelo, not a great shooter. Isaac Okoro, who I think Cleveland should look at number 5 out of Auburn, a terrific defender, Bob. Terrific defender. Not a great shooter. James Wiseman, even. Not a great shooter as a big man. Now, we've talked a little bit about Wiseman. His frame, how he runs the court, you will look at him and say, like, David Robinson. Now, he can't score like David Robinson, and he can't dominate in the defensive end like David Robinson. Not many could. But when you look at him, he's 7'1". He's got that frame to him, and he can really run the court. The big question mark with him. And I think Golden State is the perfect spot for him if Golden State can't trade it. Now, Bob, they've got a $17 million trade exception that they can move for a veteran. So they could move that number 2 pick and take on a salary of say Aaron Gordon is the name that I've heard.
Ooh.
So if you could ever turn that into Aaron Gordon somehow, or I've heard like a Rudy Gay, a veteran that somebody's looking to get off the books right now.
Yeah.
But Aaron Gordon, man, imagine him in Golden State right now.
He gets my heart racing, that guy sometimes,
Right, because he's such a freak athlete. He'd be perfect. But even a Rudy Gay would help them, because what do they need right now? They need another maybe veteran coming off the bench in that second unit that can help. Wiseman will help them, would help Golden State. And if I'm Bob Myers and I can't move it, I would take Wiseman, because
right away I thought that's where
he can give you 15 minutes a game.
The only cogent thought I was able to
No, and you're right. You're right about that.
Right away, I looked at it and said, "Well, there's a great spot for Wiseman," and we know that right away, Minnesota is not taking Wiseman, unless, as I said, unless there's some kind of somebody's lust for him and they can trade it. But I don't know, But
I don't think so.
They trade down, and I don't. I don't know. But you don't know. Maybe someone does lust for him. That's I'm just throwing it out there. You don't know. I mean, we don't know. But it's
the draft is good in the middle, Bob. The draft is pretty good from 10 to like 18. So if you're a Celtics fan and you're listening to us and you got 14.
I got 14.
I think they can get a guy that help. I have him taking at 14. Who did I have him taking? I'm trying to think of who I had him. I don't remember off the top. Sadiq Bey of Villanova.
Oh, okay.
Who's just a what is Danny like more than anything right now? Versatile, multi-dimensional forwards, and that's what Sadiq Bey is.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Now the other thing that we both have talked about ad nauseum that they could use is somebody coming off the bench that can score the basketball, right? That can.
Absolutely.
I don't know if they're going to get that. Listen, Devin Vassell is a 3-and-D type kid coming out of Florida State. Maybe they could get him at that point. I'm trying to think of other guys. Aaron Nesmith is he shot about 50% from Vandy last year. He's got size and he can shoot it. So maybe you just get a guy like that at least is a floor spacer. Because if you put him out in the court, think about it. If you can put a guy like that on the court who's money from three with Tatum, listen, is there any chance at some point you would play small ball, ultimate small ball, and throw Jason Tatum at the 5, Jaylen Brown at the 4, or Hayward at the 4, however you want to do it. Tatum
in situations, sure, and Brad, I think, is the kind of coach that had no trouble with that. And I mean, the way the league has evolved now, has evolved now. Oh yeah, no, I can easily see that happening. So
you need a big time shooter, I think, on this team. You need somebody that's either a scorer and can put it on the floor, or at the very least get somebody that is going to make shots and has size.
You've given up on Carson Edwards?
Yeah, I think Carson Edwards is honestly a guy that probably is a third tier type guy.
You'll always have that 8 3-point shot exhibition game.
Oh, I remember it well, because you wouldn't let me forget it. You wouldn't let me forget it. 5
minutes, he'll always have that. Oh boy. Well,
so yeah, I think this draft, again, the big takeaway and the big kind of mantra of this draft is nobody's really the clear-cut number one.
No.
That's the first thing of it. And number 2 is going to be, again, there's not much disparity really from 1 to 15. But even more so from 7 to 15, you can throw these guys in a hat. That's usually the case.
Before we exit, I think I want to just have something to say about that despicable, awesome Masai Ujiri incident after the final game last year. And what this all tells us is that there was a ignorant guard who could not get it in his head for 5 seconds that this African-American gentleman reaching for his credential was who we said he was. It just wasn't even, this is so much speaking to the times, right? It's as simple as that. When I first heard about it, Masai Ujiri wasn't initiating anything.
He's like the nicest guy. I don't know if you've met him, Bob.
No, I haven't.
But is incredible human being. Like, I saw him last year down at, I was at a game at Central Florida. Mm-hmm. And he was there, and he came right up to me, and I don't know him that well, but man, he is like, you talk to anybody within the NBA, one of the nicest people you will ever see around.
I just want this adjudicated in his fashion as quickly and as definitively as possible, and hope this is gets to be an incident that people become aware of because it just so speaks to the times. But and what people know we're talking about, he was trying to get to the court after his team won. And, he happens to be an African American or an African, he's a dark skinned human being, I'll put it that way. And this, the guard stopped him. He said, "Well, I got my credential." And he was roughed up, apparently, physically manhandled, before he was trying to reach for his credential. It's beyond.
I don't get it. But some of these, I will say, I've had my run-ins with some of these guys, the ushers at Madison Square Garden. Some are awesome. Like, some of those guys at Madison Square Garden are incredible. And then other ones, like, they'll have you go a certain way. You could get from point A to point B. It might be 10 feet away, but you can't go straight across. You've got to go all the way up and around, and they can't comprehend that, like, just let you go. Like, what's the big – and, like, they're literally ready to kick me out of there. So I will say, yes, it might be a black-white thing. But also I've had my share of encounters with some of these ushers that just don't, I don't know, but that was different. I mean, again, he had his credential, right? I mean,
I know. So I'm glad I want it straightened out. Yeah. And people clearly understand that Messiah Ujiri was the victim, not the perpetrator.
No doubt. What do you got on tap for the weekend, Bob? Anything good?
Beach day today.
Yeah.
Beach day.
Where's beach? What beach?
We're going to go to Hull, Mass.
Okay.
Hull, and if anybody's wondering, I have a friend parking place. I'm not taking an illegal parking place in Hull, Mass. You got to. I mean, hey, people say, "Hey, well, you're not a resident. How are you going to?" Well, I have a place. It's not. It's so don't worry about it. But no, and let's watch some games.
Hey,
I got
Bob,
watch it. Hey,
SBF 50, 30. What do we use?
Oh, whatever we got. I need a pretty. I
know you're a little.
Yeah, but I got a good recessive Mediterranean gene. I somehow even though I'm a thoroughbred Irishman, I'm not too pale. I'm okay. Yeah, and also I'll tell you what I'm thinking about. Seriously, 3:00 on Sunday is the Champions League final. And I'm not a big soccer fan, but I'm an event fan, and I know this, and I've watched the European Championship before, and I know the stakes here. Paris Saint-Germain have spent about $1 trillion to put this team together, and they're looking for results against fabled Bayern Munich. It's a great matchup, and so I may sneak. And the great thing about soccer, it's over in 2 hours.
That is nice.
Now,
that is nice.
And the playoffs, you do have an overtime, and then you get but the odds are by 5:00 it'll be over. But so I'm in the midst of all the basketball, all the hockey, all the baseball. But this is something I'm curious about. So I'm planning on watching that game.
I did. I think I told you this a couple of weeks ago. Set up a golf lesson with
yes,
guy. So we did that. My daughter and I went down and took the lesson the other day in Natick, Massachusetts. A guy named Danny who was good. I played golf maybe 15, 20 times in my life. Never gotten a lesson, whatever. So he kind of showed me a few things. Yeah. And so we'll probably hit the range.
That's good.
I'll try to take my daughter to the driving range maybe tomorrow and see if any of his tips help me.
I actually got out there last Monday at the New England Sports Museum annual charity golf.
How was that?
At Andover Country Club. I'll tell you what, I've done it about 8 or 9 years. And the people you play with are always wonderful. There's no question. But this was the best group of guys that I've ever played with. I want to salute them.
Who do they put you with, Bob, for something like that? Who do they just throw you randomly?
No, just guys that who pay good money, whatever they pay to do it. We had we guys with different walks of life, including a Worcester fireman, Dave, who could hit the ball pretty good distance. And good thing, I always tell people when we start, don't expect anything out of me, although I may have a putt or two in me. I'm not going to be, you're carrying me.
Right.
And then, but I had a great time. But this was a great group of guys, and I really enjoyed it. So I had a good time. So it whetted my appetite to get out there a few more times before, during this year. So I will.
Well, we got football not too far away, Robert.
I know. Well, I can always live, if we stop, I've said 100 times, I appreciate it. I've lived with it my whole life. But if they stop playing in the next 5 minutes, it wouldn't bother me. I can live without football. I mean, I can factor it into my life and very nicely. And I'm happy we had the Patriots.
It's going to be fun, though. Bob, we're going to have soon here, we're going to have NBA, NHL playoffs, and football. Like, it's going to be a cool –
it's crazy. I mean, right now, though, it's weird watching basketball. We're going to have football thrown in the mix. I've been watching the Bruins games. I watched the whole Bruins, 4 to 5 games I saw on their conquest of the Hurricanes. This is –
My poor daughter, Bob. My daughter is the biggest Andrei Svechnikov fan.
Really? Huh?
Yeah,
he got hurt. I saw the play. I know the play.
You don't want to mess with Chara. That's one guy you just don't want to mess with.
No, I know it. I saw that play. But anyway, and the thing is that with these games going on, if it's a nice day, I hate the idea of going inside. You want to take advantage. You live in our climate, Jeff. You want to take advantage of these of the good days because you're not too far away from from the other flip side, right? So that's
we needed this in the winter. We needed the daytime games in the winter. So we wouldn't feel so bad about sitting in at one point.
Those people on the West Coast they're getting playoff games at 10 in the morning. 10:30
nice.
in the morning, they're getting playoff games.
Oh, it's phenomenal. Think about if you're a kid, think about these days. And again, like it is hard because we want to be outside here. We only get a 4 or 5 month window out here where we get the sun, we get 80 degrees. So you got to take advantage of it. So yeah, I can't sit home all day watching 4 games in NBA and 4 games in NHL, but we'll be down to 2 games a day in each sport.
Yeah, very good. Well, all right. So I'm sure there'll be plenty more interesting things to talk about when we next convene.
There you go. Have a good weekend.
Okay, Jeff.
We'll talk soon. Thanks, Bob.